Good afternoon. I am Sam Sneed, Director of Transportation for Anne Arundel County's Office of Transportation and Chair of the Baltimore Regional Transportation Board, or BRTB for short. On behalf of the BRTB, I want to thank you for joining us to learn more about our Resilience 2050 Long-Range Transportation Plan. The 2024 to 2027 Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP, and the associated air quality conformity determination. These detailed plans for investments in our region's transportation systems are open for review and public comment through Tuesday, June 20th. Our purpose is to help you learn more about these plans, how to view them, and learn more about the specific programs and projects they detail. We'd also like to invite you to join us at any one of our 7 in-person meetings at locations around our region in the coming weeks. In a moment, we'll start a brief overview of the planning documents available for review. This overview will be followed by an opportunity for you to ask questions and learn where to submit comments. On behalf of the BRTB, thank you so much for engaging in this step of the planning process. We really look forward to reviewing your thoughts and feedback. I am joined by several staff from the Baltimore Metropolitan Council, which supports the work of the BRTB. Mr. Zach Kaufman will provide an overview of the Resilience 2050 Long-Range Plan. Mr. Keith Kuchark will provide an overview of the TIP. Ms. Anna Marshall will share information on the air quality conformity determination. And Ms. Monica Haynes-Benketta will share public involvement opportunities. And Ms. Regina Aris will moderate the Q&A at the end. Now I'll turn it over to Mr. Kaufman. Zach?
Thanks, Sam. Hello, my name is Zach Kaufman. I am a senior transportation planner here at BMC and manage the development of the Long Range Transportation Plan, or LRTP for short. Today, I'll be giving you a broad overview of the process for developing Resilience 2050, adapting to the challenges of tomorrow. Resilience 2050 is the new LRTP for the Baltimore region. Long-term planning for the transportation system is critical to ensure that the Baltimore region grows and develops in a way that is consistent with regional goals and objectives. Resilience 2050 includes investments in a mix of projects anticipated to receive federal funds from 2028 to 2050, including transit, bicycle, pedestrian, roadway, and interchange projects. Our first step was to look at the region's transportation needs and challenges over the next 25 years. We developed 9 guiding goals that form the guiding principles for our region's transportation system. Each goal is accompanied by a number of strategies intended to help the region to implement each goal. So, for example, improve system safety is one of the regional goals, and eliminate hazardous conditions in high crash locations is a strategy for improving system safety. The 9 regional goals focus on improving accessibility, increasing mobility, increasing system safety, improving and maintaining the existing infrastructure, implementing environmentally responsible transportation solutions, improving system security, promoting prosperity and economic opportunity, fostering participation and cooperation among all stakeholders, and promoting informed decision-making. Planning a transportation system for 20+ years is a complex task. We considered many factors and trends that may affect the regional transportation network in the future. Planning for the future requires forecasts of where people may live and work over the time period covered by Resilience 2050. Our local members work together to forecast population, households, and employment through 2050. These forecasts inform the project selection process and analysis of the potential future effects of projects in Resilience 2050. The Baltimore region is anticipated to add nearly 360,000 people through 2050, an increase of 13%. The number of households is expected to increase by 15%, and employment is anticipated to increase by 26%, or 374,000 jobs. Resilience 2050 also includes a discussion of various factors and trends related to demographics and the transportation system, including environmental issues and challenges, active transportation and transit, highway safety concerns, supporting freight movement, and emerging technologies such as micromobility and connected and automated vehicles. Next, we'll focus on how we select projects for Resilience 2050. There are always more transportation needs than resources available. However, the projects ultimately included in Resilience 2050 cannot exceed the amount of funding we expect to be available. Prioritizing which projects we select requires a project scoring methodology, estimates of project costs, and a forecast of how much money we expect will be available to fund these projects. The process begins when local jurisdictions and state agencies submit candidate projects for consideration. A total of 92 projects were submitted, 62 roadway and 36 transit projects. Each of these projects was given a score composed of a policy score and a technical score. For the policy score, project sponsors rank projects as low, medium, or high priority and include whether the project already has any committed funds. For the technical score, projects are scored based on criteria drawn from the regional goals, including anticipated impacts on safety, accessibility, complete streets, and environmental conservation. Projects are also scored based on their potential impacts on low-income and minority communities. The policy and technical scores are added to yield the total project score. Once we have project scores, we need to know how much projects might cost and how much funding is anticipated to be available through 2050. The MDOT Maryland Transit Administration and MDOT State Highway Administration estimated project costs for all projects. Resilience 2050 also includes a forecast of anticipated local, state, and federal revenues anticipated to be available through 2050. This financial forecast is broken down into three primary categories: funds for operating the transportation system, funds for preserving the transportation system, and funds for expanding the transportation system. Major capital projects included in the plan are anticipated to primarily use federal and state funds, as shown in the chart you see here. The Resilience 2050 financial forecast includes nearly $70 billion in state and federal revenues. Individual totals are $37 billion for operating, $21 billion for system preservation, and $12 billion for expansion. These are the bars on the far right of the chart. There were also 13 submitted. Not all of this funding is available for projects in Resilience 2050. 85 of the submitted projects were expansion projects, which compete for the $12 billion in expansion funds. There were also 13 submitted system preservation projects. Based on project scores, estimated project costs, and the financial forecast, we selected a preferred alternative of 92 projects to include in Resilience 2050. This includes 56 roadway projects and 36 transit projects. The majority of these projects, 86%, are expansion projects. Approximately 41% of the expansion investments in Resilience 2050 go towards transit projects, with the remaining 59% going to roadway expansion projects. The preferred alternative also sets aside $250 million from the $12 billion in expansion funds for various strategies intended to improve air quality in the Baltimore region. These include investments in strategies to optimize the performance of existing roadways without adding capacity, investments in creating roadways that are safe for all users, and investments in 16 regional bicycle and pedestrian priority projects. You can use the interactive map that we created and that accompanies the story map to explore all of the projects included in Resilience 2050 in detail, including expansion, system preservation, and bicycle and pedestrian priority projects. Now I'll turn it over to my colleague, Keith Kacharik, who will discuss the Transportation Improvement Program.
Thank you, Zach. As Zach mentioned, my name is Keith Kacharik, and I am a senior transportation planner at the Baltimore Metropolitan Council. I manage the Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. Today, I'll be giving you a broad summary of what's included in the 2024 to 2027 TIP. The TIP includes all federally funded and regionally significant projects that are programming funds over the next 4 years. Federally funded projects are those that receive funds from either the Federal Highway or Federal Transit Administrations. Regionally significant projects are those that may not necessarily be federally funded, but are of regional importance. These are generally capacity improvement projects that must be included in our air quality model to ensure that the Baltimore region adheres to air quality standards. Additionally, projects in the TIP are evaluated to ensure they are meeting our regional transportation planning goals, such as safety, promoting prosperity and economic opportunities, environmental responsibility, and system security, to name just a few. These goals are laid out in our long-range plan that Zach just talked about, Resilience 2050. Projects in the long-range plan are more conceptual in nature compared to the projects in the TIP. And as projects in the long-range plan move forward from the conceptual stage to the implementation stage, they move into the short-range transportation program, or the TIP. The draft 2024 to 2027 TIP programs a total of $4.24 billion in federal, state, and local money. This funding is dedicated to all types of transportation projects, including highway, transit, bicycle, and pedestrian, and is focused on operating, maintaining, and expanding our transportation system. It is important to note that, similar to the long-range transportation plan, the TIP is a fiscally constrained document, meaning program funds cannot exceed what is reasonably expected to be available from local, state, and federal sources. Funding is divided into 5 primary phases: construction, where the bulk of the funding goes; engineering, planning, right-of-way acquisition, or other items included in the other phase include things like preparing environmental documents and pre-construction activities. There are 9 possible funding categories in the TIP. This year, the largest category of funding is highway preservation, with about 42% of the funds in the TIP. That's followed by highway capacity with about 22%. Transit preservation is next at roughly 18.5%, followed by emission reduction strategy projects at just over 6%. Smaller amounts in port projects, commuter rail preservation, and so on account for the remainder of the funds. It should be noted as well that there is some crossover in funding categories. For example, highway preservation projects may have some environmental safety elements, but this gives us a general idea of how the money is being spent. There are 143 projects in the draft TIP, 13 of which are new this year. There are also 3 projects that were in older TIPs that had been removed for various reasons, but are now back in the current TIP. Of those 143 projects, over half fall under the highway preservation category, followed by highway capacity projects, transit preservation projects, emission reduction strategy projects, environmental safety projects, ports, commuter rail, and miscellaneous projects, and enhancement program projects make up the remainder of them. Funding can be further broken down by project sponsor or agency. The largest source of program funds is the Maryland Department of Transportation State Highway Administration, with nearly $1.9 billion. The next largest source of program funds is the Maryland Transit Administration, with about $865 million. It's important to note that the $865 million does not include the vast majority of MTA operating funds, which are state funds only. The Maryland Transportation Authority and Baltimore City are next, followed by the Maryland Port Administration, and finally locally sponsored projects, which are projects sponsored by Baltimore County, Carroll County, Harford County, Howard County, and Queen Anne's County, program about $128 million. Baltimore City is also considered a locally sponsored, local sponsor, but they have enough funding to stand alone, so we don't include that. TIP project The TIP document includes much more than just the 143 previously mentioned projects and the corresponding funding information. The TIP also includes detailed information regarding the transportation analysis zones as environmental justice or EJ areas, where there is a greater concentration of low income or minority populations compared to their respective regional averages. This analysis seeks to ensure that the benefits and burdens of transportation investments are shared as equitably as possible. Returning again this year is our interactive project map. It should be pointed out that many of the transit projects are regional in nature and they cannot be mapped individually. So this includes items such as preventive maintenance, vehicle repairs, and replacements and infrastructure improvements for transit. I'd just like to take a couple minutes and highlight a few of the projects in the draft tip. In Anne Arundel County, Maryland 170 will be widened from Norcross Lane to Weicker Road and will improve safety and operation. The project includes sidewalks and bicycle compatible shoulders and is estimated at about $17.9 million. Baltimore City highlights 5 new projects this year, including pedestrian and safety improvements along North Avenue from Mount Royal Avenue to Hilton Street. Also 4 roadway rehabilitation projects along Pennsylvania Avenue, 25th Street, Orleans Street, and Johnston Square. All of those projects include safety aspects for pedestrians and sidewalk improvements. In Baltimore County, funding for the Dolefield interchange along I-795 will provide a new interchange and widen I-795 from Owings Mills Boulevard to Franklin Boulevard. This is a $149 million project with construction set to begin in 2027. In Carroll County, Maryland 32, from 2nd Street to Main Street is a $7.8 million project aimed at improving safety and operations and includes intersection geometry, extended turn lanes, and modified access points. Hartford County includes 12 bridge repair or replacement projects that will improve safety and extend the lifespan of these projects, of these structures, sorry. In Howard County, the Patapsco Regional Greenway from Elk Ridge to Guinness Open Gate Brewery project is a 1.5-mile segment of the overall 40-mile Patapsco Regional Greenway. The project will provide a 10 to 12-foot hard surface trail, including a 290-foot long boardwalk over sensitive wetland areas. And finally, in Queen Anne's County, the Maryland 18B from Castle Marina Road to the Kent Narrows is a planning study looking at multimodal and capacity improvements along the corridor. At this time, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Ms. Anna Marshall, our environmental planner.
Thank you, Keith. As was just mentioned, my name is Anna Marshall, the environmental planner at BMC, and I will provide information about the federally required air quality conformity process. First of all, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or EPA, sets the National Ambient Air Quality Standards, also known as NAAQS, for criteria pollutants, which are common air pollutants. The EPA then determines which regions do not meet these standards. The State Implementation Plan, or SIP, establishes a plan for how the Baltimore region will achieve ozone standards and sets mobile vehicle emission budgets for volatile organic compounds and nitrogen oxides. Ground level ozone, or smog, is caused by a chemical reaction between sunlight and VOC and NOx emissions released from cars and trucks. High levels of ozone in the air can trigger health reactions in sensitive populations. The Air Quality Conformity Determination document details an analysis of the mobile emissions in the Baltimore region as a result of implementing the LRTP and the TIP. Some highlights of the document are as follows. We demonstrate motor vehicle emissions using the MOVES model developed by the EPA to analyze the emissions from vehicle travel. The MOVES model has inputs including socioeconomic forecasts like population, housing, and employment numbers, mobile source emissions of VOCs and NOx, which are precursors for ozone, and also data about the types of vehicles on the road and climate factors. The results of the conformity analysis indicate that projected mobile source emissions are below the established budgets for all tested years. So why is an air quality analysis needed? So the Baltimore region does not meet the national standard for ground level ozone. As a result, the region is classified as a moderate non-attainment area for the 2015 8-hour ozone standard, which is 70 parts per billion. The Clean Air Act requires organizations like the BRTB that are in non-attainment areas to complete an air quality conformity determination process to demonstrate that the transportation projects and plans in the TIP and LRTP will not cause any new air quality violations. In conclusion, the projects in the TIP and plan do not worsen air quality, and in fact, the results show that projected emissions are well below the budgeted amounts. Check out the specific numbers in the following tables and follow the links in the story map to learn more. I'll now pass it over to Monica.
Thank you so much, Anna. I'm Monica Haynes-Benketta, the Public Involvement Coordinator at the Baltimore Metropolitan Council. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today for this overview. Now that you have an overview, we hope to hear what you think about the plans that we've put together. Over $74 billion in transportation investments are planned, and we want to know what you think. For detailed information and to see the plans or to share comments, please visit our project website at publicinput.com/resilience2050. On that website, you can see the Share Your Thoughts tab, and from there, you'll see that we have a number of ways to reach us, including taking our short survey online, leaving us a voicemail, texting us via the keyword Resilience2050 to the number 73224, or dropping us an email at resilience2050@publicinput.com. We can also be reached on social media on our Baltimore Metro Co. or Be More Involved channels. We're also going to be hosting a series of public meetings, and we hope you'll join us for those. Thanks again for being a valuable member of the public and a key stakeholder in the transportation planning process. We hope you find this presentation helpful, and we look forward to hearing from you.